Introduction. The story of Our Lady of Guadalupe is a magnificent story of a mother's love for all her children. It is a story of evangelization. It is a story of the power of God, the power of Our Lady, the beginning of a new civilization, and also a story of Our Lady pointing to her Son Jesus and not to herself. In order to realize more clearly the tremendous miracle of Guadalupe, we must look at what led up to it. Guadalupe in Spain. Tradition has it that Pope Saint Gregory the Great, who was Pope from 590 to 604, gave a statue of Our Lady to Saint Leander, Bishop of Seville. The Muslims conquered Spain in 711 AD and remained there for almost 600 years. In order to keep the statue of Our Lady safe, the Catholics put it in an iron casket, which they hid in a cave in the province of Extremadura, which is southwest of Madrid. It remained hidden for 615 years. In 1326, a man was taking care of cattle when Our Lady appeared to him, told him where the statue had been hidden, and that she wanted a chapel to be built on that spot. It was close to the river Guadalupe. The statue was found, the chapel was built, and pilgrims came from all over to pray at this shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe. King Ferdinand II, Queen Isabel, Christopher Columbus, Hernando Cortes, Francisco Pizarro, conqueror of the Incas, Francisco de Orellana, the first to cross the Andes Mountains and navigate the Amazon to its mouth, Hernando de Soto, who discovered the Mississippi River, and Bishop Zumarraga were among those who came to pray there. The shrine was not visited a great deal in the 19th century on account of anti-clericalism and the Spanish Civil War of the 1930s. The Spaniards. The Muslims were in control of Spain for about 600 years, but the Spaniards had regained their freedom and lands, and now the missionaries and soldiers wanted to go out into the new world to spread the Catholic faith. They approached their mission with zeal and faith. There were some, however, who were not zealous missionaries. Some had a thirst for gold, power and fame. They were greedy, brutal and ruthless. This is clear from the way they treated the Indians and their fellow Spaniards. Now we take a look at the Aztecs. It is said that the Aztecs were told to build their kingdom in a place where they would see an eagle devouring a snake while he perched on a cactus. For hundreds of years they wandered until they saw this island surrounded by swamps and infested with snakes. They saw an eagle perched on a cactus with a snake in its mouth. In the year 1325, they founded Tenochtitlan, now known as Mexico City. They believed that they were people of the sun and considered it their task to keep the sun alive by offering human sacrifices to him. They offered as human sacrifice prisoners whom they captured in what was called the Flower Wars. They also sacrificed some of their own children. Human sacrifice was terrifying and diabolical. Victims were laid on top of a stone slab. 4 priests would hold the victim's hands and feet. Another priest would open the victim's chest with a dagger, put his hand into the wound, tear out the heart which was still beating, and raise it up, offering it to the sun god. They had perfected the technique to such an extent that it would be accomplished in 15 seconds. The victim's body was then thrown down the steps of the temple to be eaten by the captors. The Aztecs practiced cannibalism only for religious reasons. Thousands were offered at the winter solstice when it seemed to them that the sun was getting weaker. They believed that the blood of their victims would give strength to the sun. 25,000 at least were offered to their god in a single year in the temple of Tenochtitlan. In the early 1500s, the Aztec Empire extended from the Atlantic to the Pacific coasts and from present-day New Mexico to the border of Guatemala. The country had some 20 million inhabitants. Various tribes occupied 38 provinces, and these tribes were under the control of the Aztecs. The Aztecs themselves were accomplished astronomers, mathematicians, architects, physicians, philosophers, and craftsmen. However, they did not have the wheel or animal traction. They did not have the horse. Their towns were built around a stone pyramid-shaped temple. The capital was Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City. It was situated in the center of Lake Texcoco, which was a large body of water filling the center of the Valley of Mexico at that time. It has since been drained off. The population in the early 1500s was about 360,000, or one of the world's largest cities. A temple was built in honor of their god of war and of the sun. It was dedicated in 1487. About 20,000 warriors were sacrificed that day at the command of the Aztec emperor. A temple to the mother god, Tonantzin, had been built on a small hill called Tepeyac. It was about 6 miles north of Tenochtitlan. A mighty god named Quetzalcoatl was honored each year with thousands of human sacrifices. He is depicted as a feathered or stone serpent. The name Quetzalcoatl was also given to a prince who preached about a supreme being who was to be adored and honored, but not with human sacrifice. He was forced to leave his throne and sail to the east. He promised to return to reclaim his kingdom in 1521. The Aztec rulers dreaded this. A prophecy said that Quetzalcoatl would come back as a bearded man, dressed in black, with a golden helmet on which would be a cross. And now the arrival of the Spaniards. Hernando Cortes came to Mexico in February 1521. He had 11 ships, 600 men, 16 horses, 10 cannons, and several statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Aztec Empire consisted of 20 million people. Montezuma II surrendered his huge empire to Cortes with very little resistance. There were many reasons for this. Montezuma had become emperor in 1503. He was a superstitious man, tended towards witchcraft, and was a tyrant. Tribes resented his harsh rule. Uprisings were frequent. These tribes helped Cortes to conquer the Aztecs. Some of their members had been taken prisoner in the Flower Wars and sacrificed, so these tribes wanted to overthrow the Aztecs. In 1503, Montezuma's sister, Princess Papantzin, had an experience in which a guide showed her an ocean on which were large ships with black crosses on their sails. Her guide, who had a black cross on his forehead, told her that men from far away would come, overthrow the Aztec Empire, and tell them about the true God. When the Spaniards landed, the news was rushed to Montezuma that men from floating houses had come ashore. Their leader was a bearded man dressed in black with a golden helmet on which was a cross. Montezuma had no doubt that Quetzalcoatl had returned from the east to reclaim his empire. Montezuma tried to satisfy Cortes with gifts in order to keep him away from Mexico City, but that did not work. Eventually, Cortes and Montezuma met in Mexico City. There was no trust between them. Cortes had Montezuma arrested. A struggle for control of the city resulted in the deaths of 3/4 of Cortes' soldiers and Montezuma himself. Cortes was victorious. He destroyed the temples and built Catholic churches on the sites. In 1530, there were 3 earthquakes. The Indians expected another which would destroy everything. In 1531, Halley's Comet could be seen. And this was distressing to the natives. They screamed and cried because for them it meant the destruction of the universe. Also in 1531, an eclipse occurred. For the natives, this meant that the moon was swallowing the sun. This was more bad news. To them, their whole civilization and the entire universe was being destroyed. So the Aztecs surrendered to the Spaniards because they were convinced that their culture had reached a dead end. Now we take a look at the missionaries. On May the 13th, 1524, 12 Franciscan missionaries landed in Veracruz. They set out for Mexico City. It was a 200-mile journey across mountains and deserts in their brown habits. They were barefooted. As a matter of fact, for the next 250 years, every Franciscan missionary who was entering Mexico for the first time walked the 200 miles from Veracruz to Mexico City barefooted. Father Juniper Serra, the Apostle of California, traveled the same route in the same way when he arrived in the 18th century. There were many obstacles facing the missionaries. There were different beliefs and traditions among the Indians, which would seem to make the task of evangelization almost impossible. There were more than 22 languages and almost 50 dialects spoken at that time. The missionaries spoke Spanish and offered Mass and the sacraments in Latin. There were different cultures. After they were conquered, the Aztecs lived accepting the end of their civilization as the prophecies had foretold. They said, if our gods are dead, then we should die too. They turned to alcohol and some committed suicide. The meaning had been taken out of their lives. It was a catastrophe for the Aztecs to see their temples destroyed by the conquerors. To them, the temples were a symbol of their civilization. Prior to 1531, there were less than 40 missionaries in Mexico. Before the conquest, there were 20 million people in Mexico. Smallpox, which was brought by the Spaniards, killed half of the natives. Some of the Spaniards had native slaves. The Franciscan priests spoke out against that. Some robbed and raped the natives. The early rulers after the conquest treated the natives and Spaniards cruelly. Some were skinned alive, others were cut to pieces. The Aztecs soon realized that the Spaniards were not gods but human beings like themselves. They saw their lust for gold, power, and wealth. They saw that they would easily kill people. The natives saw the Spanish authorities throw priests out of churches when the priests spoke against slavery and the cruel treatment of people. One of the running Spaniards threw a spear at Bishop Zumarraga to kill him. The bishop escaped. Seeing all this made the Aztecs very reluctant to accept the teaching of the Spanish missionaries. In 1525, Juan Diego, his wife Maria, his uncle Juan Bernardino, and the emperor's sister, Princess Papanzin, were among the first to be baptized. Juan Diego and Maria walked 14 miles to Mass. In 1529, Maria died. Juan Diego moved closer to his uncle and walked 9 miles to Mass on Saturday and Sunday. Juan Zumarraga was appointed the first bishop of the New World in December 1528. He lived the austere life of the friars minor. He rose in the middle of the night for prayers, observed the fasts of the order, and travelled on foot, usually barefooted. 5 administrators, called the First Audience, were appointed to govern Mexico. They were cruel. They said that the Indians had no souls. The missionaries insisted that they had souls and should be treated with respect. Bishop Zumarraga tried to protect the Aztecs from being murdered or forced into slavery. His priests were harassed. In 1530, he decided to take all of his priests out of Mexico City and move them to Texcoco. The administrators controlled all the information going from the New World to Charles V, King of Spain. The bishop finally got a letter to the king. It was hidden in a hollowed-out crucifix. In the letter, he described the abuses, and in the end he said, "If God does not intervene, this land is about to be completely lost." Bishop Zumarraga knew that an explosive situation existed. Cruelty had driven the Indians to the verge of rebellion. He prayed to Our Lady to intervene and to send him a sign that his prayer was heard. The sign he asked for was Castilian roses, which were unknown in Mexico.
Thank you, Father. Part 2.
Now we will take a look at the apparitions. It was Saturday, December the 9th, 1531, before dawn. A humble, respected Indian named Juan Diego was on his way to Mass. He had to walk 9 miles to get there. As he was passing the hill of Tepeyac, he heard beautiful music. It sounded like birds singing. He looked up the hill and saw a bright cloud. The music stopped. Then he heard a lady's voice calling him from the top of the hill.
Juanito, Juan Dieguito.
He felt drawn to climb the 130-foot high hill. There he came face to face with the most beautiful lady. She seemed to be young, maybe 14, and her garments shone like the sun. She invited him to come closer, which he did, and then sank to his knees in awe at the overpowering beauty of the lady.
Juanito, my son, where are you going?
The lady asked in a gentle, respectful tone and in his own Nahuatl language. Juan replied,
"My lady, my queen, and my little girl, I am on my way to Mass to praise and serve God as taught us by our priests, the representatives of our Lord.
The lady smiled approvingly and said,
Know for certain, dearest of my sons, that I am the perfect and perpetual Virgin Mary, Mother of the true God, through whom everything lives, the Lord of all things, who is the Master of heaven and earth. I ardently desire a church to be built here for me, where I will show and offer all my love, my compassion, my help, my protection to the people. I am your merciful mother, the mother of all who live united in this land, and of all mankind, of all those who love me, of those who cry to me, of those who have confidence in me. Here I will hear their weeping and their sorrows, and will remedy and alleviate their sufferings, necessities, and misfortune. Therefore, in order to realize my intention, go to the house of the Bishop of Mexico City and tell him that I sent you and that it is my desire to have a church built here. Tell him all that you have seen and heard. Be assured that I shall be very grateful and will reward you for doing diligently what I have asked of you. Now that you have heard my words, my son, go and do everything as best as you can.
Juan bowed deeply and said,
My lady, my child, I am going to carry out your splendid command.
Then he went to see the bishop. Bishop Zumárraga received him politely, listened to his story, but did not believe him. Juan went back to Tepeyac to report to the lady. He told her,
I knew by his response that he thought I was inventing the story of your desire to have a chapel built here. So I beg you, noble lady, to send one of the noblemen, someone who is known, respected, and esteemed, to take your message, so that your mission will be accomplished, and the words that come from your sweet lips will be believed. Because I am only a man of the fields, a poor creature, a slave, a leaf, the bottom of the pile. I must be led myself. I must be carried on the back. My little virgin, smallest of my children, you have sent me to a place where I do not belong. My child, my lady, and queen, I beg you to release me from your demand. I am grieving your face and your heart.
the lady smiled tenderly on him and said,
Listen to me, my dearest son, and understand that I have many servants and messengers whom I could charge with the delivery of my message. But it is altogether necessary that you should be the one to undertake this mission, and that it be through your mediation and assistance that my wish should be accomplished. I urge you to go to the bishop again tomorrow. Tell him in my name and make him fully understand my disposition that he should undertake the building of the church for which I ask. And repeat to him that it is I in person, the ever Virgin Mary, the Mother of God, who sends you.
Juan answered,
My lady, my queen, and my little one, I will not disappoint you. I will gladly go again at your command, even though I may not be believed again. I will come back tomorrow evening and give you the bishop's answer. And now I say goodbye to you, my little one, good lady and queen. In the meantime, rest a little.
He then bowed low and left to go home. The next day was Sunday. Juan went to Mass and then to see the bishop, who still did not believe him. The bishop told him to bring him a sign as proof that Our Lady was appearing to him, and then dismissed him. As Juan was leaving, the bishop had some of his assistants follow him. However, when they got to the hill of Tepeyac, they lost him. In fact, Juan met with the lady on Tepeyac and told her that the bishop asked for a sign. The lady said she would give him a sign tomorrow when he would return. When Juan returned home, he found that his uncle, Juan Bernardino, was seriously ill with a fever which usually claimed the lives of its victims. Throughout the night and next day, Juan ministered to his uncle. Early the next morning, Tuesday, December the 12th, he set out to bring a priest to his uncle so that he could go to confession and receive the last sacraments before he died. Juan decided that he would go around Tepeyac by a different route, so as not to meet the lady who might delay him by giving him the sign which the bishop had requested. But the lady came down the hill to meet him. In her usual kind, gentle, and compassionate voice, she said,
"What is the matter, my little son? Where are you going?"
Juan explained that he was rushing to get a priest who would give the last rites to his dying uncle. He said,
My little maiden, my smallest daughter, my girl, I hope you are happy. How are you doing this morning? Do you feel well, my lady, my girl? I have bad news. My uncle is dying and I have to go to get a priest for him. Then I will carry out your wishes.
There was a pause. He could see love and sympathy flowing from the lady's steadfast gaze, and the tenderness of her gentle response moved him almost to tears. She said consolingly, in words that were to echo down the centuries, moving millions of her children to throw themselves into her comforting arms.
Listen, and let it penetrate your heart, my dear little son. Do not be troubled or weighed down with grief. Do not fear any illness or vexation, anxiety or pain. Am I not here who am your mother? Are you not under my shadow and protection? Am I not your fountain of life? Are you not in the folds of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? Is there anything else you need?
She paused, smiling at him, and then added,
Do not let the illness of your uncle worry you, because he is not going to die of his sickness. At this very moment, he is cured.
Juan was delighted to hear this, so he offered to bring the sign to the bishop right away. The lady smiled and told him,
Climb to the top of the hill, to the spot where you saw me previously. There you will find many flowers growing. Gather them carefully, assemble them together, and then bring them back and show me what you have.
He did as the lady requested. And when he reached the top of the hill, he found brilliant flowers, including Castilian roses, blooming in the stony, frozen soil. Only cactus thistles and mesquite bushes grew there. Dewdrops were on the flowers, and a delightful fragrance came from them. He filled his tilma or cloak with the flowers and brought them back to the lady who was waiting for him. She rearranged them carefully with her own hands and said,
My little son, these varied flowers are the sign which you are to take to the bishop. Tell him in my name that in them he will recognize my will and that he must fulfill it. You will be my ambassador, fully worthy of my confidence. I enjoin you not to unfold your tilma, nor to reveal its contents until you are in his presence. Then tell him everything. Explain how I sent you to the top of the hill, where you found these flowers growing in profusion, all ready to be gathered. Tell him once again all that you have seen and heard here to induce him to comply with my wishes, so that the church I ask for may be built here.
Now he was confident that the bishop would see him and believe him. He had some difficulty in getting in to see the bishop, but finally succeeded. He told the bishop everything that happened on Tepeyac and opened his tilma. The flowers, along with the Castilian roses, fell to the floor. Bishop Zumaraga gazed at them. It was the sign that he had asked of the Blessed Virgin, indicating that she had heard his prayer for peace in the country. Then suddenly there was imprinted on the tilma the image of the ever-Virgin Holy Mary, the Mother of God. The bishop and those present immediately fell to their knees in awe and amazement at what they saw on the tilma. When they recovered, the bishop placed the tilma in his chapel, and this can be seen today in the new basilica, which is on the hill of Tepeyac. The next day, Juan Diego pointed out where the lady wanted her church to be built. He then set out, accompanied by several people, to see his uncle. When they arrived at his uncle's house, they saw his uncle, Juan Bernardino, alive and well and very happy. He told them that the lady appeared to him in the same way that she appeared to Juan Diego, and that she told him that he was healed, that he should go to see the bishop and tell him everything. She also told him that her precious image should be called, and she should be known as the Eternal Virgin, Holy Mary of Guadalupe.
So let us continue telling the story.
Now we will take a look at the tilma. Once tilma was a sign of one's status in the community. Only the nobility could put color or decoration on their clothing. Juan Diego was an ordinary man, so he had to keep his clothes in the color in which they were made. When Our Lady put her likeness on the tilma of Juan Diego in the colors of an empress, she was acknowledging his dignity and the dignity of all the Indian peoples. In Juan Diego's day, the tilma was used for many reasons. For work, for travel, to carry supplies from the farm and market, and to keep oneself warm. By putting her image on the tilma, Mary was placing herself in a close relationship with the Indian people and their culture. The tilma is the garment worn by Juan Diego, in which he brought the flowers to the bishop, and on which the image of Our Lady was imprinted. It is made of ayat fiber, which is derived from the maguey cactus plant. It is 66 inches by 41 inches in size. The image of Our Lady is 56 inches high, that is 4 foot 8 inches. It is made of 2 pieces. A seam runs down the middle, which makes it a poor material on which to paint. There are defects in it, but each defect is in the right place. Its lifespan is about 20 to 30 years. Science cannot explain how it has lasted almost 500 years. It was left completely unprotected for 116 years. There was no glass in front of it. It was exposed to the dreadful climate, to strong nitrous fumes given off by latex cocoa, humidity, smoke and heat from candles that burned at all hours, people touching it with their hands, rosaries, medals, lips, swords, and so on. The fiber absorbs a lot of moisture. Insects attack it, yet, after almost 500 years, the tilma is in as good a condition as it was in 1531. The valleys around the former Lake Texcoco are rich in salt. The air is full of salt particles. There is a mild climate. All of these things added together give rise to buildings falling apart and the rusting of iron. But the tilma lives on. The colours seem to be faded when looked at through a magnifying glass. However, they are fresh and vigorous when seen from a distance. When one is close to the tilma, the colour of the robe is dark blue. From a distance, it is green blue. When one is close to the tilma, the stars on her robe can scarcely be seen, yet they can be clearly seen when looked at from a distance. There are no brush strokes, so the image was created on the tilma in one instant. There is no protective coat of paint. The image itself, it is a story in pictures. It tells part of the message that Our Lady brought through Juan Diego to the Indians of Mexico and to all the peoples of the Americas. Every detail in the image is symbolic. The symbols had a special meaning to the Indians who, because of their culture, could decipher the code in the image. The Spaniards saw a maiden standing on a black moon. To them, it was an image of the Assumption. However, the Indian wise men saw much more. They saw the deep meaning of every symbol. They saw several meanings in their symbols, just as we can see several meanings in our symbols. They explained the symbols to Bishop Zumarraga. The overwhelming meaning of the image for the Indians was life, motherhood, evangelization, and bringing people together in peace. The image is an emblem of the people, just as the eagle in the shield of the Mexican flag. The image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, along with the Shroud of Turin, have possibly become the most mysterious images on earth. The pictures. In Aztec culture, pictures were a necessary means of communication. The tilma was a perfect means. It is a codex or record composed of pictures which are painted on paper made from maguey fibers. The wise men knew how to read and interpret the ideas that Our Lady was showing to them in the image. They would read the tilma from different angles. They were amazed at how the Catholic faith was explained to them in a way that they could understand. The position of the body. Our Lady's right foot is on the moon and the other foot is flexed as in a dance step. The people understood that she is dancing. For the native people, dance was the same as prayer. Her left knee is bent. Mary is taking a step in dancing or walking. Her body is delicately balanced and her hands appear to be situated in such a way as to suggest that she is holding something. The Virgin addresses the Indian as a person, a man, and that is why she appears to him in a standing position. Conquerors, whoever they may be, whether Aztec, Mayan, Incas, or Spaniards, were always seated when they received inferiors. Juan Diego sees nobility in the Lady and not domination. Mary's mantle. It represents the sky or the heavens above us. It is wrapped around her shoulders and circles around her dress, which symbolizes the earth. Heaven and earth come together in this way. In 1983, it was found that the stars on Mary's mantle are the ones present over Mexico City just before sunrise on December the 12th, 1531, which was the morning of the winter solstice. The constellations represented on her mantle are as they could be seen from outside the dome of the heavens. The number of stars on her mantle is 46. It is the same number of chromosomes which are in the human body. The mantle is green-blue in color. Only the emperor could wear that color. It signifies that she is an empress. Blue symbolized the sky, and green symbolized earth and life. The dress. It is a pale red color, the color of the blood which was spilled in the sacrifices. It was also the color of dawn in the Valley of Mexico. It represents earth. The rosy dress has flowers imprinted upon it. This represents earth. The flowers are symbols of truth. The Aztec wise men looked upon flowers and song as the only truth on earth. The pink of the dress is pale when seen close up, but rosy when seen from a distance. The flowers. Our Lady sent flowers to Bishop Zumarraga as a sign to him that the apparitions were true. The Aztecs used flowers to convey a message that their messages were true. The flowers are on Our Lady's dress to convey the message that her message is true. Leaf and flower designs symbolize heaven, which she enjoys and wants us to enjoy also. The Nahuatl wise men looked upon flowers as a symbol of truth. They were the loveliest things they knew. The native messengers of their ancestors always accompanied their messages with flowers as a symbol of truth. The four-petal flower. This four-petal jasmine flower is over her womb in an exposition. It is the most important symbol in the image and the only one of its design among the 57 flowers and 13 buds on Our Lady's dress. The Aztecs recognized it immediately. It is called the flower of the sun. It is in the center of the Aztec calendar. This announced to the conquered Indians that the son of a new era was about to be born in their lives. It symbolized new life for a people who were on the edge of total despair as a result of the conquest, the loss of their gods. They felt their gods betrayed them in spite of all the human sacrifices they offered to them. The loss of their culture and temples, the loss of their freedom, the loss of their family and friends with smallpox, and even the loss of their self-worth. The son of a new era was about to be born. The flute player flower on Mary's womb announced to the Indians that the apparitions and all connected with them were true. In the thinking of the native peoples at that time, this tiny flower with its four petals was seen as a representation of the dwelling place of God. She is God's mother and is about to give birth to him. This is the most important codex in the entire image. For the Aztecs, the image proclaimed that the Most Holy Virgin carries within herself the Son, that is, God. Mary's face. For the Aztecs, the face indicated what a person was like. It was a window to the inner person. It was a means by which one could read who a person was and the way that person would act. The lady's face shows humility, compassion, understanding, assurance of protection, sweetness, and modesty. Her face shows her with dark skin and dark hair like the Indians themselves, so she is one of them. She also spoke in their language, which was Nahuatl. Also, her complexion represents the union of two races, the Indian and the European. These two mighty empires had lived as enemies, but now they are joined together to form a new people, the Mexican people. She has the features of an Aztec maiden, which identifies her with the conquered and enslaved Indians. Her skin is a bronze color. The Indians needed someone of their own race, culture, and mentality to teach the Catholic faith to them. She, more than anyone else, showed the Aztecs the way to the true God. The Spaniards had brutally blocked that way. Mary chose Juan Diego as their representative, and by doing this, she was honoring his dignity and the dignity of his people. Mary's eyes. In the 1970s, a Peruvian, Jose Tunsman, magnified the eyes and saw that there were 13 people in the cornea of Our Lady's eyes. It would be impossible to paint these reflections in the eyes given such a little space. Her eyes are looking down. This is a position of humility. It is a symbol that said to the Indians that, as great as she is not a goddess. Indian gods never looked down. They looked straight ahead. She is not proud. Our Lady's hands. Mary's hands are joined together in a posture of prayer. The Spaniards recognized this. However, the Indians saw more in this posture of the hands. They also saw another posture which they had in prayer, and that was dance. The Indians expressed prayer not only by the hands but also by the whole body. Our Lady Guadalupe is shown in a position of dancing prayer with her left knee bent in movement. Above her hands and on her tunic is one of the 9 heart-shaped flower blossoms. This is a symbol of love and sacrifice. Mary's heart is held between her hands in an act of prayer and offering to God. The ancestors of the Indians offered hearts to their God after they tore them out of their victims in order to keep harmony in their lives. Mary is telling the people to place their own hearts in her hands, and she would present them to the true God without tearing them out. Mary's head. Her head is bowed in reverence to someone who is greater. Her hair. In the Aztec culture, virgins wore their hair down. There was no braiding. It was neatly brushed. The medallion. Aztecs wore medallions around their necks. These medallions had a deep religious meaning for them. The Virgin had a medal with a cross on it. This showed the Aztecs that she was a follower of Jesus Christ, her Son and true God. They had learned this from the missionaries. The cross on the medal was the same as the cross on the helmets of the Spanish soldiers. Therefore, she had the same religion as the Spaniards. The cross and the 4-petal flower indicate that Mary is both the bearer and a follower of Christ. The dark ribbon. The dark ribbon around her waist signified that she is with child. It was her child that she was offering to the new world and to all of the peoples of this new world. Her speech. Our Lady speaks to Juan Diego in Nahuatl, which was his language. He calls her my lady, my queen, my little girl, my child. She calls him my dear little son. Their conversation is the typical friendliness of the Nahuatl language. The angel. An angel is carrying Our Lady. In Aztec culture, only very important persons were carried on the shoulders of another. Only royalty and the representatives of the gods could be carried by others. The fact that she was carried by a heavenly creature meant that she came on her own and not with the Spaniards, and also that she was a heavenly queen. The face of the angel is that of an old man. This indicates the wisdom of the Indian wise men. The angel has Our Lady's cope, signifying heaven, in his right hand, and her rosy dress, signifying earth, in his left hand. This indicates that heaven and earth are united. There will not be any war between them. The purpose of the angel and also of evangelists is to bring the divine and human together. In the Aztec way of thinking, if a human being had the wings of an angel, it meant that that person was reaching the heights of perfection. It was the eagle which showed the Aztecs where to settle down and build their civilization. For the Catholics, the eagle represents John's Gospel. The angel is seen as carrying in a new era or a new civilization. The old civilization had died, and Our Lady was bringing in a new one. The angel has eagle wings. This represents a heavenly messenger because it was only the eagle which could fly high enough to give the hearts of those who are sacrificed to the sun. The moon. The Virgin stands in the center of the moon, or the center of Mexico. The word Mexico is Nahuatl, and it means the navel of the moon. The moon is dark because the Virgin is eclipsing the sun. She is standing in front of the sun. The moon god, the god of night, was among the greatest of the Indian gods. The Virgin was standing upon the moon, so she is greater than the moon god. The sun. The Lady is in front of the sun, which indicates to the Indians that she is greater than their sun god, who was the greatest of their gods. It was a clear sign that there would be no longer human sacrifices to the sun to whom they had sacrificed thousands. She does not do away with the sun. The rays of the sun shine as always, but she is greater than the sun. The stars. In 1983, it was found that the stars on Mary's mantle are the ones present over Mexico City just before sunrise on December the 12th, 1531, which was the morning of the winter solstice. The constellations represented on her mantle are as they could be seen from outside the dome of the heavens. The number of stars on her mantle is 46. It is the same number of chromosomes which are in the human body.
Thank you. We'll continue. Thank you very much.
Insights of the missionaries. As time went on, the missionaries meditated on the worship of the Aztecs and realized that there were similarities between the Aztec and Catholic worship, and that Our Lady was teaching the Catholic faith to the Aztecs in a way they could understand. On Our Lady's dress, There are drawings which represent hills and rivers. The hills where there are woods and caves represent protection. Our Lady said to Juan Diego that she offers her protection to the people. The rivers represent water which gives life. The hills and water signify civilization for the Aztecs. For Catholics, the water signifies the waters of baptism, and also Jesus said in John's Gospel, chapter 4, verse 14, "Whoever drinks the water I shall give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The hills can represent the hill of Calvary and the hill of Tepeyac. The missionaries meditated on and were shocked by the human sacrifice and the eating of the victims after their hearts were torn out. They realized that the disciples of Jesus were shocked too when he said, "Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life." John 6, verse 54. Jesus, of course, was referring to the Eucharist. For the Aztecs, sacrifice was the most important part of their religion. They believed that the sun was a god, and in order to give it life and strength, they had to offer it and the gods of the universe what was vital to the human being, and that is blood. At least 25,000 people were sacrificed to their gods in a single year. In the Mass, the body and blood of Jesus Christ is offered. In the winter solstice, the Aztecs celebrated the feast of Pantexclistli, which was the most important ceremony in their religion. They lit a new fire and sacrificed hundreds of people by offering the victims' blood to the sun god. The Jews celebrate the feast of Passover, during which a new fire is lit, a lamb is sacrificed, and its blood offered to God. Christians celebrate Easter, when Christ rose from the dead, by lighting a new fire and offering the body and blood of the Son of God at Mass. Some of the Aztec mothers had sacrificed their children. It is estimated that 1 in 5 children were sacrificed before Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego. Our Lady is telling the Aztecs,
I understand you. I understand human sacrifice, just as you offered your children in sacrifice in order to save your people. I was at the foot of my son's cross as he offered his body and blood for the salvation of all people. From now on, there is no need for human sacrifice. My son gave his life so that everyone would be saved.
the eagle has special meaning for the Aztecs and Catholics. The eagle showed the Aztecs where to settle down and build their civilization. For Catholics, the eagle is a symbol of John's Gospel. Then there are the 2 Johns, who were close companions of Mary and who spread God's message of love to the world. There was the Apostle John and Juan Diego, or John Diego, in Mexico. The missionaries, of course, immediately on seeing the image on the tilma, were reminded of the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1, where it said, "A great sign appeared in the sky, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet." Miracles in connection with Guadalupe. Number 1, the image itself on the tilma. The miraculous and instantaneous appearance on the tilma at the bishop's residence in 1531 was never known in the history of the church. It has been preserved for almost 500 years and has not lost any of its original beauty and freshness. The tilma should have disintegrated within 30 years. The temperature around the tilma may vary, but the temperature of the tilma is always the same, and that is 98.6 degrees, which is normal human body temperature. Scientists from different fields have examined it. They cannot explain how it happened and how it has been preserved. Secondly, Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego and to Juan Bernardino at the same time. She healed Juan Bernardino. Thirdly, as the tilma was being transferred from the bishop's chapel to the new chapel at Tepeyac, an Indian who was involved in the celebrations was accidentally killed when an arrow pierced his neck. The dead man was brought to the foot of Our Lady's image, and the whole congregation, Indian and Spanish, rich and poor, bishops and priests, prayed for him. The arrow was removed, and the dead man came back to life. Number 4, the greatest miracle of all was the conversion of the Aztecs and other Indian tribes. There were 9 million in 7 years. Number 5, in 1545, a plague occurred around Mexico City. In a matter of months, 12,000 died. The Franciscans organized a procession of 6 and 7-year-old children to Our Lady's shrine. The plague was over soon after. In the years before Our Lady's appearances, the children would have been sacrificed. Number 6, in 1629, a great flood invaded Mexico City. 30,000 died in 5 years. 50,000 Indians and Spanish left the city. A lay sister had a vision of the Lady of the Tilma propping up the walls of the city. Permission was given to have the image brought from the church on Tepeyac to the cathedral in Mexico City. People continued to pray, and the city was saved and rebuilt. Everyone acknowledged that Our Lady had saved the city. The image was returned in 1634. Number 7, in 1737, Mexico was struck by a plague which killed 700,000 people in 8 months. The symptoms of the plague were very high fever, violent spasms, bleeding from the nose, and finally death. There was no cure. Everyone prayed earnestly, and it was decided to consecrate Mexico to Our Lady of Guadalupe. Historians agree that the plague stopped at the moment the consecration was made. Number 8, in 1778, nitric acid was accidentally spilled on the tilma. However, the colors were not destroyed, and there is little evidence of the mishap. Number 9, from the middle of the 16th century to the middle of the 18th century, there were hundreds of miracles attributed to Our Lady of Guadalupe. One involved Sister Jacinta of Puebla. She had a perforated stomach which caused bleeding each day. She was not able to talk, and the doctor said that there was no possibility of recovery. A picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe was given her. She was expected to die on December the 12th, 1755, which is the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. However, she suddenly sat up in the bed in perfect health. Number 10, on November the 14th, 1921, a bomb was hidden in a bouquet of flowers and placed directly underneath the sacred image. The explosion broke windows, broke the marble altar, and twisted a bronze crucifix. The image was not affected. The glass which protected the image was not even cracked. Number 11, Thousands of the natives came to be baptized, even though no missionary had visited the area from which they came. There were times when the missionaries had to baptize 14,000 people in a single day. If their right hand got tired, then they used their left hand. The Protestant revolt was taking place in Europe. Thousands left the Catholic Church. But in Mexico, Our Lady was bringing millions into the Catholic Church. Number 12. In Europe, the kings and princes came into the church first. However, in the New World, the conversions took place among the people and then filtered to the leaders. Number 13. 5 days before he died, in 1548, Bishop Zumarraga wrote that he gave the sacrament of confirmation to 400,000 in 40 days. Both natives and Spaniards were confirmed. Some points of interest. Bishop Zumarraga had schools and hospitals built and a cathedral in honor of the Mother of God. He also built a little church on the hill of Tepeyac. Bishop Zumarraga and Juan Diego died within a few days of each other in 1548. He was 72 and Juan Diego was 74. Juan Diego was declared blessed in 1990 and canonized as saint on July the 31st, 2002. Today, Guadalupe is the greatest Marian shrine in the world. It is visited each year by 20 million pilgrims, or 15,000 each day. It is like other Marian shrines of pilgrimage, a center of Eucharistic adoration. Masses are offered at the main altar throughout the day, beginning at 8 a.m. Other Masses are offered on the balcony where there are several altars. Mary always leads us to her Son, Jesus Christ. Our Lady brought unity between people of two great empires, Spanish and Aztec. They had different cultures, but she inserted Western culture into the whole continent. Our Lady came as a mother. She said, "Am I not here who am your mother?" She came to show love and compassion and to aid and defend her children. Our Lady came as an evangelizer. She taught the Aztecs about the one true God and His Son, Jesus Christ. Guadalupe is a word of Arabic origin. Maria is a Jewish name meaning chosen by God. The old basilica was built in 1709 and the new one in 1976. Pope St. John Paul II visited the shrine in 1979, in 1990, in 1999, and in 2002. Pope Benedict XVI visited it also, and Pope Francis visited it in 2016. There have been 44 popes since the apparitions occurred, and 23 have issued decrees concerning the image. Just 40 years after Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego, Don Juan of Austria carried an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe on his ship in the Battle of Lepanto. The Catholic fleet defeated the superior Muslim fleet in that battle. There is a striking parallel between our own age and that of the Aztec civilization immediately before the apparitions of 1531. Now, as then, society is dominated by godlessness, pagan excesses, and immorality. Countless babies are sacrificed today by abortion. False gods are everywhere. Aztec polygamy and depravity are more than matched by today's widespread moral collapse. In the beginning of the 21st century, many Catholics see a renewal of emphasis on Our Lady of Guadalupe as someone who united Christians in the Americas and also as a healer of the wounds of abortion. They see the pro-life symbolism in the image. Mary ended human sacrifice in the Aztec world in the 1500s. She offered new life, which had been won by the sacrifice of her son. She will end human sacrifice in our day also. Scientific studies are very important and most interesting, but the studies take second place too. Number one, the truth of the apparitions. Number two, the miraculous image itself. And number three, the miraculous conversion of the Indians that happened as a result of the apparitions. The work of Our Lady of Guadalupe to bring peace and harmony among people, to promote the dignity of each person, to emphasize the sanctity of each human life, to spread devotion to the one true God, and to have Christ in the center of all peoples, will continue.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you all for joining us, all those watching now, and all those who will watch later. God bless you all. Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us.